No matter your age, your plan for retirement can start today. From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Retirement Report.
Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. We're going to be talking about income in retirement today. All right. One of the things that we get into with retirement, this is kind of a typical scenario I see when people come into my office, is that they are contemplating retirement. They're getting close to where retirement's now on the radar, and they're thinking now it's starting to dawn on them, what am I going to do as far as retirement when I need that income? When you're working, and I use the analogy of the golden goose, right? That golden goose, they get those paychecks every couple of weeks. That golden goose lays that egg, right? We get that nice egg, and now we want to save those some of those eggs as we get paid, and we want to prepare for retirement with those savings. So when all of a sudden you do reach that retirement age and the golden goose walks away, right, or you walk away from the golden goose, whatever eggs you've been able to save over the years, now you've got to figure out how over the next 20, 25, 30, maybe God willing, maybe even more years you'll have in retirement, and that they have to last and provide. Because what happens when the income stops coming in, okay, do the bills ever stop? Even when your mortgage is paid off, you've still got property taxes and insurance that are going to keep coming in. And of course, you're still going to have your other bills, your groceries, your utilities, gas for the car, maintenance, other insurances. All of those things are going to keep coming in. And not only are they going to keep coming in, they're going to do what, right? They're going to go up each year. That's called inflation. So we're going to have bills that never stop and that increase over time. So we got to make sure that our money that we've saved up is going to be working as hard for us as we've worked for it. And that working hard for us means providing us income. Now, a lot of people get really worried about that. How am I going to get that income from that money? I'm used to growing it over time. I just put it into these funds, right? My portfolio, whatever it might be, and I let it grow. But now that I'm going to be retired, how am I going to take income and make sure that when I take that income, I don't use up the principal too soon to where I run out of money? And we're going to talk about some proven strategies this morning on how you can do that, as well as I'm going to go over some articles that give some advice out there, and some of these is really dangerous advice, and that's why I'm going to go over and show you the pros and cons of how to generate income in retirement, some of the different strategies. So we'll show some of the bad ones and why they are bad and what the dangers are there for you, as well as some proven strategies that you can use to guarantee that income in retirement. All right, so stay tuned for that. Now, one of the things we're going to do when we're talking about income and retirement, right, how to do that, this is one of the areas I'm going to help you this morning. I'm going to talk to you, make an offer for you again. This worked out well. We've got some people that have responded, quite a few in fact, so I decided to extend this offer out. And this is one of the things I find when people come in, they have stuff all over the place. I just met with some new clients yesterday, and they must have 10 different accounts spread all over the place. So what we're going to do is we're going to make available for the first 10 callers to my office, and we'll get that number up in a little bit, a personalized retirement income analysis. So if you're like these people, let's say you've got a 401k here from an old employer, and a 401k where you're at currently, or a 403b, or an IRA here or there, and maybe you've got some other money in savings accounts or CDs. But there's no really rhyme or reason to all this in terms of how it works together, and that's a big part of what we do, is help you figure that out. So, because otherwise what happens is you've got potentially conflicting goals going on with these different pools of money in terms of how they're working and how they're investing, and it can create additional volatility, which could cost you in the long run, because you don't know how much you have as well. We want to measure everything out and how it works. So we're going to help you position your money correctly, so if there is, in fact, when there is a next big market correction, we're going to make sure you're positioned so that you don't get hurt by that. And how can you fix that right now? Well, I'm going to make it simple and easy for you. For the first 10 callers on the show today, we're going to call the office, 376-5325. We'll get that number up in a moment. we're going to give you a free personalized retirement analysis. And in the retirement analysis, you're going to discover how to position and protect your investments no matter what happens with the stock market, proven and successful strategies to maximize your income in retirement, how to maximize Social Security benefits, and then how to also minimize taxes as you take that money out of those retirement accounts as you need it for income. We're also going to help you deal with the rising cost of health care, inflation, taxes, and also some little-known strategies on how to make sure that you never ever run out of money in retirement. All right, so to get the free personalized retirement analysis, all you need to do is be one of the first 10 callers to my office. The number is 376-5325. For the first 10 callers, you can get this free retirement analysis. We can help you solve these problems. 376-5325, and we'll get into that again later in the show. Now, there's been some interesting articles out there that I've gathered up, and one of them was 10 ways to get income in retirement. And I wanted to go over some of these. You've heard me talk about ways that I use in my office, strategies that we use, proven strategies to help you minimize volatility and risk in retirement as you're starting to take income now and switching over from that growth strategy to an income strategy. Well, let me share with you some things, some ideas that others have put out into the press, and we'll talk about some of the pros and cons here, because if you read these, I want you to understand in particular the risk. In fact, let me start out, speaking of risk, if you're going to invest in the stock market, all right, one of the areas here that I want you to think about, you know about stock market risk. You know that the stocks will have periods of time when they go down, periods of time when they're up. We've had, for instance, large caps in particular. The S&P has had a nice 5-year run. Now we're concerned about a correction. Starting out the year real well. In fact, yesterday we even had, I think it closed at a record high. But all this is usually a sign, too, that there's a lot of concern that the market's due for a correction, possibly even going into a bear phase. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and we'll get to those later. The first thing I want you to think about, besides the volatility potentially in the market, and we don't mind the positive volatility, of course, when it's going up, it's that negative volatility when it drops way down. As we saw, for instance, in 2000 through 2002, you had a 44% drop in the S&P, and again from October of 07 to March of 09, we had a 55% drop in the S&P. So those are some pretty harsh numbers to have to deal with, especially now, if you're leaving that money alone, and you're just saying, well, I won't worry about it, it'll come back. And in fact, in the 2002, by 07, you were back to what you started at the beginning of 2000. Okay, but that's kind of a long stretch, but you were back up. Then it went down again, and then by the end of 2000, or right around into 2010, I should say, now you're back up again to even and starting to make money. Then you've made some decent money if you've stayed invested through that whole period since then. But think of that. That's over basically about a 15 year period for you to be able to sustain that. If you were taking it, when you're just leaving it alone, you can ride those ups and downs and be fine. But when you're taking income, you're not going to come back so fast because you're selling off shares as you take that income in your growth portfolio in particular, and therefore you're not maybe going to recover as fast, if at all. So one of the things that comes into the stock market risk is one of those, our other risk. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about some other risk that we maybe don't think about, especially risks that have come into our world since 9/11, and what those risks are and what that might mean to you with regard to your retirement savings. All right, and we're going to talk, of course, about how to protect it as well. So join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.